Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'm Zon, the Daddy Dev. I also go by the moniker title pending on the internet. And today I just want to kind of do an actual devlog to tell you how everything's going. Now, I have been working with Jebedia the last 3 weeks of extensively. We've been working on and off together, but we've really been focusing to get those tutorials out. So those are coming if you're come to this channel for tutorials. We are still working on high quality content, but it's taking us some time. So I hope you appreciate it, enjoy it, and learn from it when we eventually get those out. Today I'm going to be talking about my path with Blender, how I failed at it, put a hashtag fail, and what you can do from learning from your failures. I know it's kind of a cliche if you haven't heard it before, but yes, learning from failing. One of the big things that actually happened during the course of me learning Blender is I thought it would be a good idea to go on DLive and do Blender videos. Well, it was horrible because I really am not that fast. What you're going to be looking at today, I guess I should show it. What you're looking at today is where I had kind of been. I'm going to start with talking about this. And sadly, again, this took a lot of time. I was literally learning how to use Blender 2.8. And I have to give a huge shout out to my friend Indivino, who helped me a lot get over a lot of the fears I had and a lot of the things I just couldn't do. And I want to share some of my, basically the process of how I got here. Where's cylinder? Good cylinder. All right, so the first thing is, if I can find the cylinder. Why is it not hiding everything else? All right, okay. I hide the cylinder. I'll hide this right here. Now, the first thing is that I have to note that I did have a lot of drawing experience. And so what I did is that I've been studying modeling for about a year. Cheryl Lynn's one of my biggest heroes. And I really just started drawing half bodies because I figured that when you draw a full body, it kind of doesn't work because usually what you're going to do is you're going to mirror the image anyway, and you can't really draw a perfect other side. So just draw half. That's one of the first things that I learned is just to draw half the body. From there, I did some other things. I did draw I'll get to those later. I did draw another quarter. I drew the other, at least how the body would be churned. And then as you can tell here, I can't remember who I got this from. I don't know if it was Cheryl Lynn, but I basically then paralleled those on the axis, on the origin, so I could just churn and model those all the time. The hardest part for me was the middle, trying to figure out this is where the imagination, this is where thinking 3D really helps. Other things that were also interesting, I tried as a shortcut and then part of the design to kind of create this uniform or this outfit that doesn't have all the fingers attached. Now, aside from the shortcut, the idea behind this is that if you ever take martial arts, the big mistake that a lot of people do is their pinky comes out, it gets caught on something, it breaks. And the idea of this character, she's very action oriented, so she just basically needs her shooting arms and she has her mitts on here, which is kind of extra protection so her fingers don't get broken, so forth and so on. So that was the idea, and that was kind of cool, and I drew that out and figured it out. Now this drawing this is the third or fourth drawing after I tried to start modeling. Now once I got past this part, actually I should show the model, the cylinder. I used the mirror tool. Is it the mirror tool? I can't remember what it's called. Well, I used something and when I used it, it was really cool. You can see I got this half. Now, there's some issues with the mesh where if I'm going to make it solid. And so some of the issues, and I moved it up. So if it's unaligned, I do apologize. I did make some changes and edits from the drawing. But basically, as you can see here, is I basically made half of the image. And then I just basically put together the other half. Now, the big thing for me here is, the ears were funny. I had to come up with those ears later on. The big thing here for me was that I had to just learn how to make all these joints, so forth and so on. And so one big thing that helped, if I go into X-ray mode, as you can see here, is that I'm a little unclear why I might have to double check the typology. But I have to double check it because I don't know why these things are invisible. There might be some extra planes I have to get rid of. Another thing is you'll notice there's triangles. I'll put a link to the video that talked about this. Ideally in your typology, you don't want to have triangles, but they can be useful for doing joints or bends. And this part of the hip, this is where she could do the splits or do high kicks, so I kind of made it that such. I have to double check my typology there. Ooh, there's some uneven stuff here. Oh well, we'll see if that works. And then also here is really cool. I came up with this joint based on the triangle stuff. I'll put a video talking about how to use triangles to effectiveness to create bends, which is really, really cool. Again, I learned all this pretty much in 3 months of actually applying stuff I'd been studying. But nonetheless, that's why Indy 40 really helped me, is I had a lot of stuff I was thinking about, but I was just afraid, kind of an irrational fear to try it. The feet are totally effed up on the bottom. I'll have to figure out how to fix that later. And again, I'm not sure. If you know why these lines aren't here, put a comment below if you do Blender or so forth and so on. I'm also going to give a shout to AkiShaqs. He's one of the guys that I talked to related to Blender stuff. He's got a great asset store. I'm going to put a link to his stuff. If you don't want to do Blender, he's an awesome guy with an awesome store. Anyway, so when I was doing this, I had to figure out the face. And in my original drawing, it's going to sound kind of funny, is I didn't really have the face figured out. I had the hands, and as you can see here, I actually took the hands, I modeled it from the bottom part, and then I moved that to the top. So I really was doing a lot of moving of the camera, so forth and so on. Of course, having a fixed camera like that would help. I learned a lot more shortcut keys, so I can like move a little bit faster through these shortcuts, as you can see, front, back, so forth and so on. I can actually change this to be this. You can see it white again, but it's a lot easier to see the typology this way. And again, I might have to make some fixes and changes. Finally, what ended up happening was I ended up having to figure out the face. So what I ended up doing instead was I actually used Inkscape, and then I actually figured out the head this way. Let me just move this really quick. Are we in object mode? We are. Move that up a little bit right there. I'm going to get rid of this cylinder. I haven't named it body yet. As you can tell here, I did the same thing. I actually figured out exactly like what, well, not exactly, but as close as I could. I actually drew the typology out. This is something I've been trying to do for a year, and I finally figured out how to do it for this project, which is really cool. The other thing that I did after that is, of course, I did the same thing as I did the other one. I don't know why I'm resetting these. Again, I started the torso. Everything was kind of centered, even her body. Then I had to move her up because of the rigging that's happening. And like the big thing with the head is that there were mistakes made. I constantly had to go back. I had to redo things. But because of this, I learned a lot of incredible things. Like I can totally destroy a mesh now and rebuild it and rebuild the missing sections. Again, one of those things I found where this was helpful from all the stuff that I had learned was it came into play with her ears, of all things. Her ears were really hard to figure out. They still kind of don't look good. But again, overall, at least they're functional. I guess I should say that. And again, because the character's going to be very far away like this, in the game, you're not really going to see a lot of those details. We might have some close-ups. I might fix the ears later, but I'm happy with where I'm at. Ideally, too, these faces, there's going to be no eyes on the faces, but there is going to be like a one-piece or kind of a bodysuit situation in design. I did that also so I didn't have to worry about the boobs so much, which I was having issues with it. I learned a lot from this. Again, it's just that process of revision and having to sleep on things and making mistakes and learning from those mistakes, learning from those failures. I know, again, it's like a cliche, but if you can learn from your failures, you can really grow. So finally, after all that is said and done, where am I at right now? What is this vlog about? Well, we're kind of getting into the rig part, and I'll put a link to this. The reason why I'm talking about rigging now is that's what I'm kind of just working through, and it's the same type of process of reflection, making mistakes, and trying to figure out where I went wrong. One thing I did learn is like watching videos over and over again helps, and a big shout out to Indy. He told me about this. Let me show this really quick. I'll do a quick demo. I don't really have anything. I'm going to only find, let's see, Blender Rigify. We'll do Rigify? We'll do Rigify. Just put the video on here right now. One of the things that happens a lot, especially if you're trying to learn something, is that the guy goes too fast. Oh, let's turn that off. Pause right here. I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube standards. I can have a still image, but I can't have a video playing apparently. What happens here is you go here and you just go into settings, and this comes from Indy 40, mind you not. You can put your playback speed to really, really slow. Now, why is that important? Well, you probably want to have your audio off, but by having the playback being so slow, you can actually watch how people are making their models, especially if they're doing speed models. That doesn't just work for modeling, that can work for anything related to something that goes really fast or too fast for you to catch those things, you can slow it down, and by doing so you can see everything you need to do. So right here, that video that I just showed is the tutorial for Rigify. I'm making these adjustments again. Now what's funny is that I did do some tests on the arm bend initially. So again, just the process of figuring things out. So like a couple of things off the bat, again, before I knew about the triangle method, I just didn't think about it. So when I bend this elbow, it just didn't look right. So hopefully now with those changes, the triangles, looking at other people's typology, this works. Now about that, I don't think, I guess I think this is okay. Let's just say reference wise, it's okay to look up stuff on the internet. Let's go into the Zero Friday server really quick. Discord. And yeah, I do apologize that right now the Zero Friday Discord is just for people making the game. We haven't opened it up yet. We've got tons of stuff for Blender. I share my progress with everyone else who's on the team. And then, wow, it's a lot of stuff here. So like one of the things is that, looking at Pinterest, I was looking at bends and joints, seeing how they work. Just looking at just the best ways to do this. Again, looking at how triangles could be used or not used. Like I don't see any triangles here, but there's definitely could be triangles here. You can see those triangles there. And then just seeing how I could apply this type of collapsing thing. So a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of visual reference, and that's basically how it works. I think the other thing too out of this that was really nice is I used to do research as an academic back in my undergraduate work. And I miss that kind of nerdiness of like research project and research development. So that's kind of like how I've been treating this, is that we've just been kind of going forward with Blender iterations. Plopsys right now has pretty much been the only one doing like the programming extensively. I feel kind of guilty about that, but I do want to get back into doing more of, trying the programming. I definitely am responsible for game design, but I'm also, I'm also acceptable to how other people want to give me feedback, so forth and so on. And to tell you the truth, like that's been the hard thing, is to stay on par and on vision with this. Again, this is like my third job. I treat game dev as a third job. Half of that week has now been moved towards working with Jebedia on the Rakugo Godot tutorials, trying to get that going. The other half is this, and between all these things, there were a couple of bids for professional game development contracts. I might do another video about that. I did bid, I did apply for some jobs, and I'm seeing how those go. But I tell you the truth, the longer time that I don't hear back from people, I'm kind of thinking that's kind of an answer, even though they haven't given an official answer. I'm apparently still waiting for things to clear monetary wise. So I am just updating. This is the vlog at the end of the day, testing out that new microphone. If you like that microphone, if you like the stuff I've covered, if you have any questions, so forth and so on, you're like, please stop cutting off your head, tell me in the comments below. Insert catchy phrase here. I wish you, anyone who watched this video, well on whatever projects you're making. And of course, put a comment, do whatever the heck, ask me questions, find me on the internet. You got links to the Discord, one of the Discords I hang out with, yada, yada, yada. You've all been lovely. I don't know what else to say except see you in the next one. Bye-bye.